My name is Feyi Okungbowa. I'm the services leader for Baker Hughes GE. I cover sub-Saharan Africa. And we've had many interesting discussions this morning about solutions, technology. I kind of want to change the pace a bit and just look at the sort of the softer side and the nuances of intervention. Of course, this comes naturally to me, my background. I've been with GE 14 years, of which I spent pretty much 10 years in commercial operations. I was the ComOps leader for the region. And in today's world, as the services leader, one of the things I'm accountable for is driving that value for our business. So thinking about commercial models, how we can create outcomes for our customers, and how we can make more money is always at the top of my mind. So I would like to talk a little bit about that and the challenges about that, specific to sub-Saharan Africa and interventions. Integrated solutions as a topic, a lot of people may be aware or not aware, do question the whole BHGE, what integrated solutions are you talking about? So in doing that, I'll talk a bit about, which way it clicks? Yep. Yeah. So for the agenda today, I'll talk a bit about BHGE overview, our presence in SSA, our footprint, our customers, talk a bit about the different businesses that we have under the BHGE umbrella. Then I'll talk a bit more about the intervention sort of progression over the years, right? So it's not entirely new to us. It's not a 2018, 2019 thing. It's a business that we've been in for probably a good 5-6 years. And then I'll talk then specifically about what the future looks like, right? Commercially, different commercial models, risks to think about, and how we think about success as we go through this evolution. So within the BHGE umbrella, we've got what I would call 4 main product companies. And I apologize for the acronyms. I'll try and tell you what they are. So OFS, that's what I would call legacy BHI business, offering solutions, drilling services, wireline services, pressure pumping, chemicals, that sort of thing. OFE business, which I've been in for the last 14 years, subsea production systems, all things deep water, services, drilling equipment, flexible pipe systems, pressure control system. And then we've got the other 2 businesses, TPS and digital solutions. TPS stands for Turbo Machinery and Process Solutions, and digital solutions business. When we talk about intervention, the context of intervention and integrated solutions, we're really talking about the 2 first businesses, OFE and OFS. Under that umbrella, we're able to deploy full stream value proposition under the intervention context. A bit about our footprint in sub-Saharan Africa. We've been playing here for several years. We've got our full stream capability and human capacity across SSA, a few shared hubs, Angola, Nigeria, Ghana. We've got footprint in South Africa, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, and of course, global mobility of talents and services, very key for us. This is how we execute. Few of our key customers, we play with the IOCs, NOCs, indigenous oil companies, SNEPCO, ENI everywhere. ExxonMobil, Shell, Lake Oil, Seplat. These are just a few of our customers in sub-Saharan Africa. So this particular slide, I just want you to focus on, for now, on the right-hand side of things, which is when we think about success today, because I've heard a lot of people talk about efficiency, effectiveness, save money, costs. We're playing in a particular space today, but to make this sustainable for sub-Saharan Africa, we need to think differently and think about other different factors to realize that additional value, that incremental savings, the game changers. Today, when we think about success from a BHGE perspective, we think about investing in local partnerships, right? To execute in SSA, you've got to have local partners. You can't do it any other way. We think about capitalizing on local market and knowledge. We've got, and you'll see further slides, I'll talk through sort of our footprint in a bit more depth around our capacity and our people in the region, but focusing and harnessing that local knowledge and understanding of our customers is key. understanding local customs and business culture, local content rules, regulation, compliance, hot topic. You can't get beyond that. If you want to be successful in SSA, you've got to understand those, and you've got to figure out a way to be compliant at those topics. I won't go through everything. We'll talk a bit more in future slides about what then we need to focus on in the future. So, as we're in Ghana, it'd be nice to talk a bit more about our footprint in Ghana. Today, we've got our local base at Takoradi Port with 10,000 square meters of space. We've got 30 full-time employees. A lot of those are our field service specialists, as well as our management team in Takoradi. We have a few staff that sit in the Accra office as well. Our main capabilities from that base, obviously, testing of subsea trees and connectors, repairing and management of rental tools, and aftermarket repairs for drilling equipment. We pretty much can do most things in the life cycle of an SPS project: repair, maintain, storage, indoor, outdoor storage, equipment management, inventory management, those sort of things we execute from our base in Ghana. Obviously, office block, hard surface, external storage. Nigeria, a bit more mature. Over 2,500 surface and subsea wellheads installed. It says 170 trees here. I actually think we're looking at more like 250 in today's world of installed trees. 250 employees scattered around, mainly in Oni, but we do have a majority of our, say, admin people sitting in Lagos as well. Very mature base. We do pretty much, it's 18,000 square meters, and we do pretty much any kind of repair, refurbishment, fixing of tools at this base. We also can do full SIT, SRT of trees. We do full flat pack assembly of trees, testing and deployment. We also have all our in-house engineering functions, controls, hardware, everything. And Nigeria is a big success localization story. Today, we're probably 95% Nigerians executing all of the hardware, all of the repair, refurbishment work at that base. We also have a test tank, and we're kept busy by our dear customers. Angola, same story. 400 subsea wellheads installed, again, over 110 trees, 650 employees under the BHGE umbrella, so that's your OFE, OFS, TPS, and digital solutions. Services, again, very similar to Nigeria, test and assembly of subsea trees and connectors, repair and management of regional rental tools, aftermarket repairs for equipment. Similar base to Oni, strategically positioned in Sunil's base. Same capability, we're testing trees, we're building trees, we're converting trees, tools maintenance, well jumper assembly, and testing. So when you think about the BHG portfolio and you think about the SSA story, we're here. We have footprint in most of the hubs. Angola, Nigeria, very, very advanced and mature. Ghana, hot on its tails. We're building in Mozambique as well. So the footprint is there. The regional context, the localization is there. Now we start to think about what are we doing in the space of intervention. BHG interventions. So this is just a bit of a timeline, and please don't ask me any technical questions. Paul can take them. But this is just an overview of our journey in the intervention space. So back then in 2014, under the umbrella of BHI, we've been delivering wireline services in Nigeria. 2015, we actually did something quite clever. We converted a work over system for light well intervention with our customer SNEPCO. That system was called a poor boy. And I don't know why it was, but and Chiwike can attest to this, but really, really good system, completely manual at the time. Through 2016, we've done acid injection tree cap wells in Nigeria, delivery of acid stimulation modules for ENI in Ghana, OCTP in 2017. 2018 here in Ghana, we've done multiple fluid intervention campaigns with Tolo, and Tolo will talk more tomorrow, I do believe, about the results there and how that shaped out. But that was a successful campaign. In 2019, a couple of things have happened for us in BHGE. One, we now own our light well intervention equipment, the stack, and we've successfully deployed it with a campaign with Total earlier on this year, 2-well campaign. And right now, we've also, the workover system converted for SNPCO somewhere in there in 2015 has now been upgraded with E-line and slick line capabilities, and we're actually at campaign right now, a 10-well campaign. I think we're three wells in. So real success there. What's really good about that particular story is now we're not just delivering the service, but we've actually manufactured the stack. So from a BHGE perspective, intervention it's a big deal to us. A lot of focus, a lot of attention, and a lot of work to try and think through what the future will look like and how we think about our commercial models to underpin the future. Okay, so now into the topic that I like to talk about, how do we create more value? So I'm going to go, not to solve all the problems, but just to plant some seeds. Like, what do we think about, right? Do we think about creating value for operators only later in life? Should we even be thinking about interventions earlier on in the exploration phase and planning that, right? Should we be looking at it from a national petroleum perspective? What commercial models are there that can drive a different kind of behavior from the IOCs and from us service providers? Should we be exploring risk and reward-based models, right? Vessel asset sharing. I've heard of vessel clubs. I liken it to almost like a timeshare, right? Do we want to be thinking about vessels and how we share and how that's shared and we buy time over the year and think about clever ways. If you can't do the intervention, then you can sell your time to the other person. This is specific to the SSA story because unlike other regions, mobilizing in here and moving vessels and moving stacks around is not necessarily easy. So thinking about that early planning, understanding what's needed, will drive more value, and sharing and pulling resources, and even way out there, allowing us suppliers to put some skin in the game, because that drives a different kind of behavior from the supplier. It's a motivating factor. It helps you think about how can I do this differently if my pay is tied to a certain outcome. Just an example here of something that we have done, BHGE, it's a North Sea example with BP, fluid intervention. So if you look through the value chain, we're part of the evaluation, design, and obviously executing. The customer's challenge, like most customers, and I've heard a few people talk about it, we all know there's the cash conversation, we're coming out of a downturn, securing funds can be challenging. This customer had mature assets, declining production, shutting wells, and really they were struggling to be able to win that internal funding from their organization. We at BHGE were able to work closely, so not as supplier and customer, but I would say strategic partners, to come up with an innovative risk-reward business model. And what does that mean? Just very high level. Instead of getting paid for just providing your service, I call it time and material, but now we tie up my solution and what it can get you to your production. If I can get you to X, you pay me X, as opposed to paying me for just my services, right? For us, obviously, to get that done, we need to understand the production enhancement opportunities well by well. You can't just do this scattergun. You need to understand what's there. You need to work with the customer to understand the solution that we're being offered, challenge those solutions, challenge us, the service provider, to understand what better solutions we can bring to be able to help the customer achieve that supernormal result over and above what they were expecting. And then we can share in that success if they achieve those supernormal results, or we can share an entire failure. If they don't reach those supernormal results, then we get paid nothing. Outcome of this sort of model, zero upfront costs. to the customer. So they don't need to pay anything. They're not paying they're not paying mobilization. They're not paying any of that. We come with the full solution. And obviously, it motivates a different kind of behavior from the supplier. It makes you quicker. It makes you scrub for more innovative solutions. You push yourself more to come up with something, because now your pay is tied to some supernormal results, as opposed to just getting paid a daily rate, whether the customer achieves their results or not. In this case, BPR, the numbers being thrown out is 75 million of incremental production, sort of a mid-case over the next 5 years, is what we're looking at with this solution, this execution of this fluid intervention. So, a few sort of flexible contract structures. If you look to your, I would say to your right is what the future could look like. To the left is how we're operating today. So the operator, BHGE, could be the prime contractor. Then you'd have another contract with your vessel operator. Then you might have two contracts with BHGE, one with the OFE side of things for the stack. Then you have another contract with the OFS side for wireline and coiled tubing. For me, this is how we operate today. It's transactional. You do get your results from a production enhancement standpoint, but it begs some thinking. What could the future look like? Back to what I said about integrated solutions. Shall we start looking at a future where you have one contractor that wraps up all of those services, including the vessel? Back to my potential vessel sharing, timeshare discussion. Right, so in this sort of model, you'd have one contractor that comes with the vessel, the OFE, light well intervention, IWOX, as well as the OFS side of things, the coiled tubing, the fluid and handling, downhole services. These are some of the ways that we can think differently about how we go to market with our light well intervention solutions. So, just to round up a little bit, I talked about the investing in local partnerships, capitalizing on local markets and knowledge. But really, as you think about the future and how do we create that additional value, how do we generate that and that supernormal result from a production enhancement, how do we drive more value for our customers? We start to think about portfolio management and diversification, integrated solutions, covering the full spectrum, embracing digitalization, right? We talk about this a lot. I liken it to the example of Uber or Airbnb, right? We need to think about apps to get smarter. We need to open up the market, not focus so much on the competition, but what can we do? How can we use digital solutions to underpin how we work in the intervention space? Finally, also, and this one's key for me in my job, right? Identifying risks and planning for uncertainty. Early planning. You plan, you can get it at the right time, right value, and you can start to think about your risks and how you mitigate it. Just as an example, as I wrap up, when we think about, and we said supply chain, when we think about the supply chain issues, localization issues, mobilization issues, one of the solutions that we at BHGE have done is we actually now have our stack in the region for the region. So that way we can save our operators mobilization, demobilization costs. We understand the nuances around the different countries and we can navigate and move faster between your Nigeria, Ghana, and Angola. We can just drive that real value for our customers as we deliver intervention solutions.